The storm hit faster than Jacob expected. He had just enough time to drag the last crate into the shelter and slam the steel door shut behind him. Outside, winds howled like wild animals. The forest groaned under the pressure. Trees bent. Lightning flashed. And then came the sound, deep, shaking, like something heavy crashing through the woods. Jacob backed away from the door. His heart thudded in his chest. It wasn't just wind. Something was out there. He checked the locking panel. Red light secure. He had reinforced the door with spare metal from his old ship. Nothing short of a vehicle could break it. Or so he thought. The first bang was loud. A deep, solid impact. Jacob jumped. Tools clattered to the floor. The second bang dented the door. Something was slamming against it, over and over, harder each time. The final strike was like thunder. The door flew off its hinges. It crashed to the ground, twisted and broken. And in the opening stood something. She was tall, powerful, not human, a strange figure, half beast, half woman, stood in the shadows, breathing hard. Her fur was black and shiny, wet from the rain. Her glowing green eyes locked onto Jacob. Her long tail flicked behind. She had the face of a beautiful woman, but wild, with sharp cheekbones and long fangs. She stepped inside. Jacob didn't move. He didn't even breathe. She looked around, sniffed the air, then turned her attention back to him. He raised his hands. "I'm not your enemy." She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her expression said it all. She was tired, cold, wounded. Jacob spotted blood on her leg, a long, deep gash across her thigh. Still bleeding, he slowly knelt and opened a supply box. "I have med kits, food, you can rest. Just don't kill me." The alien werewolf girl didn't react. She stood still for a moment, then walked past him. Her heavy footsteps shook the floor. She moved like a predator, but not with anger. She collapsed by the heater in the center of the shelter, curling. Her large body near the warmth. Jacob stood frozen. What was he supposed to do now? She tore off the door. And now she was sleeping? Minutes passed. Jacob finally moved closer. She didn't stop him. He carefully approached her leg and opened a bandage pack. His hands shook. He had treated human wounds before, but this was different. Her skin was warm. Her blood was dark blue. She growled softly when he touched the cut. He paused. She didn't lash out. He continued wrapping her leg with care. She watched him the whole time. When he finished, he sat back against the wall and stared at the broken door. Rain poured in. Cold. Air filled the room, but she didn't seem to care. She was already drifting to sleep. Jacob pulled a blanket over her. It barely covered half her body, but she didn't move. The storm outside grew stronger. He looked at her again. What was she? Why did she come here? Was she running from something? Or hunting? And why did she look at him like that? He didn't sleep. That night, he couldn't. Not with a powerful alien beast in his shelter. Not with the door ripped off. Not with the way she breathed deep, calm, almost peaceful. As if she trusted him. Or maybe she just had no choice. Either way, he knew one thing. Everything had just changed. Forever. Jacob woke up with stiff muscles and cold fingers. The rain had stopped, but the air still felt heavy. Morning light slipped through the broken doorway, casting pale shadows across the shelter floor. She was still there, curled up beside the heater. The alien girl hadn't moved much through the night. Her black fur shimmered in the light. Her long tail lay across the ground. She looked peaceful, but also dangerous. Like a wild thing resting between hunts. Jacob stood up slowly. He checked the battery supply and turned on the emergency heater. Again, the soft whirring sound made her ears twitch, but she didn't wake. He took a step toward the exit. He needed tools. A new door. Maybe even weapons. But her eyes opened, green and sharp. She watched him closely, sitting up with a quiet growl. In her throat, "I'm just getting parts. Jacob said, voice calm. You broke my door, remember? She didn't answer. But she didn't stop him either. Outside, the forest was still damp and covered in fog. Everything felt quiet, but not safe. The air had that strange tension, like something was watching. From between the trees, Jacob worked fast, pulling scrap metal from his storage shed. He kept looking back at the shelter. When he returned, she was standing now barefoot, tall, alert. Her wound still looked fresh, but it had started healing fast. Too fast, you heal quickly, Jacob said, trying to sound casual. She stepped closer, not aggressive, just curious. Her nose moved slightly, sniffing him. You understand me, don't you? No answer. But her eyes narrowed as if she was thinking. Then she surprised him. She reached out and gently touched his chest right over his heart. He froze. Her clawed fingers weren't sharp just now. They were soft, careful. Then she pulled her hand away and stepped back. Jacob exhaled. Okay. Not a killer. He worked the rest of the morning rebuilding the door. She stayed near the heater, watching every move he made. She seemed more calm now, less like a wild beast and more like a guardian. Or maybe just someone out of place. Later, when he tried to eat, she approached again. Jacob offered her a food pack. She took it slowly, sniffed it, then bit. Her eyes widened in surprise. She ate the rest fast, like she hadn't eaten in days. Jacob smiled a little. Not bad, right? She didn't respond, but this time, she didn't growl either. Do you have a name? He asked. Silence. He pointed to himself. Jacob. She blinked. Her lips moved slightly. Yeah. Cobb. His breath caught. You can speak. She frowned, frustrated, and tried again. Yeah, Cobb. Close enough, he whispered. She looked at him, then pointed to her chest. Thera. He repeated it. Thera? She nodded. He had a name now. A connection. She wasn't just a beast. She was someone. That night, he gave her a real blanket and moved some supplies to make room. She didn't tear anything apart. Didn't growl. She just watched him, then laid down near the fire again. Not long after, Jacob turned off the lights. He heard her shift behind him. Then he felt warmth. She had curled up behind him. Again. Her breath was steady, calm, like she had done this before, like she wasn't afraid. But Jacob was. Not of her, but of what might come looking for her. Whatever she had run from. It might still be out there. Watching. Waiting. And this time, it would come for both of them. Jacob woke to the sound of growling. Low, deep, close. For a moment, he thought it was thunder again, but it wasn't. It was Thera. She was already on her feet, standing in front of the new door Jacob had built yesterday. Her back was straight, her ears alert, her tail stiff behind her. Jacob sat up quickly. What is it? Thera didn't answer. She sniffed the air, then growled louder. Her claws slid out. Her muscles tensed. Something was outside. Jacob grabbed the small blaster he kept hidden near his bed. He hadn't used it in weeks, but he kept it charged. He moved next to Thera and listened. He couldn't hear anything yet, but Thera could. She turned her head toward the trees beyond the fog. Then she looked at Jacob. And nodded. Just once. Jacob stepped back to the control panel. The new door wasn't strong, but it was something. He pressed the lockdown switch. Metal groaned as the door sealed. Then silence. No wind. No birds. Just the deep stillness of something wrong. Thera stayed like that for a long time. Still, focused, like a soldier, like a hunter. Then she turned to Jacob and spoke slowly. Bad ones near. Jacob's heart jumped. What kind of bad ones? She searched for the right word. Hunters, like me, but not kind. Jacob's mouth went dry. They're looking for you. She nodded again. How many? Thera raised 3 fingers. Jacob tried to think. His shelter wasn't made for a fight. And Thera was still hurt, even if she healed fast. "We need a plan," he said. Thera walked to the window slit and pulled it open slightly. She sniffed again, then pointed toward the trees. "Tonight." "They come." Jacob checked his supplies. He had traps, motion lights, a few sharp tools, and one working drone. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. "We'll set up defenses," he told her. "We'll fight them off." Thera didn't smile. But something in her eyes changed. She trusted him. Together, they spent the rest of the day preparing. Jacob strung up sensor wires between the trees. He used scraps to create noise traps and set up fire cans for light. Thera helped, limping slightly, but her strength was returning. She moved with purpose, as if she'd done this before. When the sun went down, the fog returned to Jacob sat by the fire with Thera beside him. She was quiet, staring into the flames. Her fur shimmered in the light. "Why are they chasing you?" Jacob finally asked. Thera didn't answer right away. Then softly, "I broke their law. I helped humans." Jacob looked at her. "Helped? US?" She nodded. "They kill. I stopped them. They hate me now." He felt something heavy in his chest. "You risked your life. For people like me." Thera looked at him. Her voice was quiet, almost like a whisper. "You are not weak. You are kind." Jacob didn't know what to say, so he stayed quiet. That night, the first sound came just past midnight. A clicking noise, then a howl. High, cold, not like Thera's. She stood instantly. So did Jacob. The motion sensors lit up. Red lights blinked. In the trees, Jacob saw a shadow move, then another. 3 shapes, big, fast. They were here. And they were coming straight for the shelter. Asterisk. The first shadow leapt from the trees. Jacob fired the drone flare. A burst of white light lit up the forest, and he saw, them clearly for the first time, 3 alien werewolf hunters, bigger than Thera, covered in thicker fur, their faces more beast than human, their teeth long, yellow, and ready to kill. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They came to take Thera or end her. Thera growled and stepped in front of Jacob. "Stay behind," she said, but Jacob shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." He raised his blaster. The first hunter rushed forward. Thera moved fast. Her claws clashed with the attacker's arms. The 2 figures slammed into each other, roaring and striking. It was pure power, rage, and muscle. Jacob aimed and fired at the second one. His blaster hit its shoulder, burning fur and skin. It screamed and turned toward him. The third hunter jumped over the fence and crashed through the side of the shelter. Jacob ducked just in time. The whole side wall collapsed. Tools flew everywhere. Thera kicked her attacker back and leapt onto the second one. They crashed to the ground, rolling in the mud. Jacob grabbed a sharpened pipe and swung it into the leg of the third. The hunter howled and slammed him into the wall. Pain shot through Jacob's body. He could barely move, but he didn't let go of the pipe. Thera was bleeding again, but she didn't stop. She roared and threw one of the hunters into the trees. Another charged her from behind, but Jacob tackled it, swinging wildly. It clawed his back. He screamed. Thera spun around and tore into the hunter's side, dragging it off Jacob. The fight felt like forever. Mud, blood, screams, but slowly. They began to win. Thera snapped the neck of one. Jacob jammed the pipe deep into another's throat while it tried to rise. The third, now limping, growled and backed away. Thera stepped forward, breathing hard. She roared louder than anything Jacob had ever heard. The last hunter turned and ran into the trees. Gone. Silence returned. Only the sound of rain beginning to fall again. Jacob collapsed to the ground, coughing. Thera limped to him and knelt beside him. Her hand touched his bloody shoulder. "You fought," she whispered. He looked up, barely able to speak. "So did you." She helped him sit up. Her body was cut, bruised, and covered in dark blue blood. But her eyes were calm, focused. Jacob looked around. The shelter was almost destroyed. The door was gone again. The fire was out. One wall had caved in, but they were alive. He laughed softly, shaking his head. This was supposed to be a quiet research trip. Thera tilted her head. Not quiet now. He laughed again, and so did she. The sound was soft, strange, like she didn't know how but wanted to try. They sat together as the rain fell. She leaned against him, breathing steady. Jacob didn't pull away, not this time, and in that moment. Even with the wounds, even with the wreckage around them, he didn't feel afraid. He felt like he belonged. The next day, the forest was quiet. Too quiet. Jacob limped around what was left of his shelter. His back still burned from the claw wound, but Thera had wrapped it tightly. Her strange healing salve worked fast. He could move barely. Thera was outside, tracking. She crouched low, sniffing the air, ears twitching. Her wounds hadn't slowed her down. If anything, she moved faster than before. When she returned, her face was serious. "They sent scouts," she said. "More will come," Jacob sighed. "Then we don't have much time." He knew it now. This wasn't just about her. This was war, quiet and hidden, but real. Thera had broken some sacred rule among her kind. By protecting him, she'd made herself a traitor, and now they would keep coming until one of them was dead. Jacob stared at the trees, then back at her. "I can't stay here," he said. "We'll need to move." Thera nodded. "North, mountains." "Safe, my kind do not follow there." Jacob grabbed his gear. "Then let's go." They packed quickly. Only what they could carry. Some food, tools, medicine, and a solar flare pack for warmth. Before they left, Thera walked to the center of the ruined shelter. She knelt, pressing her palm to the cracked floor. A strange light glowed from her hand, faint, like moonlight. "What's that?" Jacob asked. "A promise," she said. Then she stood and followed him into the trees. The journey north was hard. The forest turned colder. The fog never lifted. Strange animals watched them from the shadows. But Thera led with quiet strength. She knew the land like a second skin. At night, they rested under caves or thick roots. She always slept near him now. Sometimes her tail brushed against his leg. Sometimes her hand would rest beside his. Jacob never pulled away. One night, as firelight flickered on the rocks, he turned to her. "Why me?" he asked softly. Thera looked up. "I was alone," she said. "Hunted, dying." I followed a voice. He blinked. "What voice?" "Yours." Jacob stared at her, confused. She placed her hand over her heart. "Your voice, on the radio, telling a story." I listened. It felt warm. He remembered then. 2 weeks ago, he had tested his long-range signal. He'd read aloud from his journal to check the transmission. She had heard him, and followed. "Didn't know anyone was listening," he said. Thera moved closer. "I was. And I knew you would not hurt me." Jacob looked into her eyes. The firelight danced inside them, green, wild, and full of something he didn't fully understand. But he felt it. She reached out, brushed her fingers along his jaw, and leaned in close. Her voice was low, steady. "You are mine now, if you want to be." Jacob didn't answer with words. He just stayed there with her, in the cold, beneath the stars, closer than he had ever been to anyone. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel human. He felt something more. Snow covered the ground. As they reached the mountains, the air was thin and cold. Trees gave way to jagged rocks and narrow paths. Jacob's breath came out in clouds. His muscles ached, but he kept going. Thera walked ahead, strong, steady, always scanning the trail. They had traveled for 6 days. No signs of hunters. No signs of safety either. On the 7th night, they found a hidden cave. It opened into a quiet valley, protected by stone cliffs. Warm springs flowed from the rocks. Strange blue plants glowed under the snow. It felt untouched, like a forgotten place. Thera stepped inside and turned around. Safe here. My people cannot smell this land. Jacob dropped his bag and sat. Near the spring. Then this is home? She didn't speak right away. Then she said, if you want it to be. Jacob looked at her wild hair, her sharp ears, her eyes full of storm and silence. She had lost everything to protect him, her clan, her honor, her past, and still. She stayed. He nodded. I want it. That night, they built a new fire. No more running. No more fear. Just the two of them, side by side. Thera rested her head on his chest. Her voice was quiet. My kind, we mate for life. Jacob smiled, pulling her closer. So do we. She looked up, eyes glowing in the firelight. Then I am yours. He kissed her forehead. And I'm yours. In the days that followed, they built a shelter from stone and wood. Together. Thera hunted small creatures. Jacob repaired tech from his old gear. They laughed, healed, and made a life. Weeks later, a strange ship passed high in the sky scanning. But it did not stop. The valley was too quiet, too hidden, just like Thera promised. One morning, as soft snow fell, Thera curled up beside him, tail wrapped around his leg. Her hand rested on his chest. You saved me, she whispered. Jacob smiled. You tore my door off first. She growled playfully and bit his shoulder softly. Then she whispered something more. Now we build a new pack. Jacob looked at her, surprised. Thera placed his hand gently over her belly. Warm, alive. He didn't need words. They had found peace in the storm, a home in the wild. Love where no one thought it could exist. And now, they were no longer alone.